So my name is Vanessa Stang, and I have been engaged with a Purpose by Design for what is going to be close to a year now, thanks to the lovely Miss Ruth Carlson and Leanne for initially getting me involved for last year's virtual retreat, and then obviously the fantastically amazing Tanya Davis for allowing me to continue to be involved and asking me to share a bit of my story with you today, which hopefully will have some nugget of wisdom. I'm not guaranteeing anything, but let's see how it goes. And then also, I just want to thank everyone who I've had the opportunity to meet along the way. This is just an incredible organization, and I am 100% in full support of the mission and vision and the impact that this incredible group of women has on another group of incredible women. So thank you for having me here today. I really want to take this time to talk about the importance of really owning our voice. And so I appreciate you allowing me to share a bit of my own, but really how that relates to financial empowerment and its correspondence or its relationship with our own mental health and our own emotional well-being, because in my case at least, there has been such a strong connection between the two, and I will share why that is. So let's dive right in, I guess. So growing up, we moved around a lot as a young child, and eventually I had lived in 6 states before I was 7 years old as a result of my father's job. And finally, we landed in Southern California. And so that's where I spent the majority of my childhood, which is kind of its own world, if you will. And the community in which I grew up and was raised was quite wealthy, and they were quite financially, it was an affluent community. And while my immigrant parents had worked their tails off to get to where they were as far as a financial position, the values that they instilled in my brother and I were polar opposites of quite a few of the other children and families that I was exposed to. So you add this constant kind of rooting of never feeling like I belonged and always being the new girl to now, okay, this is where we're planting our roots, if you will. This is where we're going to stay. And I just constantly never felt like I belonged. I never felt like I fit in. And there was always this kind of keeping me up at night feeling of, well, there has to be some sort of silver, bullet. There has to be an answer. There's got to be a way in which I can find some sort of answer to finally belong and feel like I belong. And it caused a lot of emotional anguish, and I felt very alone, quite honestly, for a majority of my not only childhood, but through an earlier part of my adult life as well. And looking at the way that a lot of the children and their families acted and behaved with money, which were not necessarily healthy ways, please let that be known. My thought was, okay, I found it. This is what I need to do. The answer is going to be money. If I spend this way, if I look this way, if I act a certain way as it relates to money and what comes along with it, in my mind, I will be accepted. I will be loved. I'm going to belong finally. And this type of thinking really impacted my early adulthood, and it had some severe consequences. I thought that if I spent a certain amount on things, or if I used monetary or physical items, is that I could please people enough to accept me, to love me, but it's also I use them as a band-aid, as a crutch to love myself and to smother these clearly these mental health issues that needed to be addressed. And so I silenced myself that way and just used them as a mask. And it led to some very poor and unhealthy money management behaviors and mental health behaviors that required a lot of work to realign or to change. I would make some very unhealthy relationship decisions as a result of this, where I would put everything on my credit and think that that would equate to a healthy relationship. In all honesty, the relationship itself was not good by any means, and yet I would stay silent about that and not share what was actually going on with anyone. And I would just continue to, again, spend money on myself to try to feel better, or spend it on the other person, thinking that it might fix this, and obviously ruining my credit simultaneously. I would feel bad and about something, whatever it might be, and go out and spend money and to buy things, and it would be a temporary high and a fix for me, but it really wasn't getting to the root of the problem, where I clearly needed to speak up and say that, hey, I have a real problem here, and those problems were that I was not prioritizing myself. I was not caring for myself. I was not loving myself. I was behaving in a way that was basically trying to smother my voice and smother, basically putting myself second, third, fourth, last tier to everyone else. And it was almost as if this spending behavior and this mismanagement of money was a way of trying to prove myself to people that I belonged. And in reality, I was suffering. I was miserable. And I knew it was an issue. And my one regret that I have is that I did not speak up sooner. I did not use my voice sooner. And because if I had, I probably would have saved myself a lot more pain than I did have to go through. But when I finally did, yes, it was painful. It was challenging. But to quote a very near and dear friend of mine, I had a choice to choose my pain. I can either choose the pain of my present unhealthy, uncomfortable, painful state, or I could make the choice to choose the pain of and discomfort of going through a change to get to the other side. And what is on that other side is my knowing how to, and having had to learn, which took a long time. We had to change all of my behaviors and all of the ways that I think and view myself and the world, quite honestly, and what I consider an absolute necessity as far as monetary value and what deserves to be purchased, versus a want or a Band-Aid that I mentioned earlier. And that took a lot of work. I mean, we're talking hours spent at the table, just line items. Okay, is this a want or a need? Want or a need? Want or a need? And really, I needed to prioritize me to make that work. And I needed to say, help, I need help. And this is not working. The way that this is going right now in this current state is not working. And that's hard to do. That's really hard to do. But it got to a point where it was so uncomfortable that I finally found my voice, and then needing to nurture that voice and nurture myself and care for myself started to become a priority. And now I recognize that in order for me to be good at anything, I need to put myself as a priority. I need to pay myself first. I need to save for myself first. I need to take care of my emotional well-being, my physical well-being, my mental well-being first in order to be financially empowered. In order to do anything for anyone, I need to be taking care of myself first. And so that's why I see those two so connected. And my ask, or I guess my nugget of wisdom, again, I don't think of myself as too wise because I've made so many mistakes, but I guess that's how I learn. And so it's okay to make mistakes, know that. But it's to grow from those mistakes, but to also recognize that those mistakes and those are what create us, to create our wisdom and create our story, and they add to our voice, and which that voice that we get to share, that we have the honor of sharing, is something that we should be so proud of. So learn from them, own them, share them, and be empowered. And I am just so fortunate to be here. I hope that there was something that you were able to take away from this. It was a bit difficult for me to share that because I normally don't do this, like I said, but thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of this organization. Again, you are all so wonderful, and you are all so important, and you're all so special to me. So I thank you again.